Important that they had changing rooms at the bottom and changing rooms at the top. Could they not do with changing rooms just at one floor? It shows that they wanted the performers close to where they could change the masks and the rest of the costume, right? That's what it shows, having them on both floors. Do you know why? Because they never but ever used a very big number of performers. They actually started by having one play and one performer. Can you imagine if the story had about 40 characters, how Speedy Gonzales in and out to change and reappear like a completely different character. That couldn't work out either. So they had, if the theater was half full, they would keep the performers in the orchestra circle because vision was good if they were just occupying the bottom section of the theater, and then they made use of the changing rooms at the bottom. If the theater got totally full and they got them lifted on the balcony, they would make use of the changing rooms at the top. And you know what? Even though they added number of performers, they started with one, they never had more than 14, so they added performers, but it was still a small number. Does anyone know by any chance the name of the very first professional performer? And his name is quite well known still. And if you don't say it to me, the minute I will say it to you, it'll be like the orchestra where you will think to yourself, oh my God, I knew that. The name of that first professional performer is like a metaphor for a certain activity.
Conductor? No.
Very close. Guys, thespies. Thespians. When we say thespians, we mean acting. Yes, this is what the term means. And after that first performer, guess what happened? The performers simply stopped being important. We never got any other name of the performer. Do you know why? Not because they were just hiding their faces behind the masks and nobody cared about them, but those that became important were the sponsors. What sponsors are we talking about? When Aeschylus and Sophocles and Euripides and Aristophanes wrote their plays, they knew that the show was going to be on here every 4 years. How often were the Olympics on? Every 4 years. How often were the Pythian Games at Delphi on, or the Panathinaik Festival in Athens? 4 years. So that shows that they added the activities here in the list of all the big festivals that the country had. So they knew that for 3.5 years they could write their plays. They would have the plays presented here for the first time. It was like a grand premiere, yes, for everybody. But in case people could not come to watch the show, at the end of the festival here, they would pack, try to imagine, caravans of people, the performers, the costumes put on the carriages as well. And they started traveling around other parts of the world, of Greece, to present the plays, but everything started here. Isn't it natural that someone had to pay and cover the expenses for all that? The costume designing, the costume making, the accommodation for the performers and all that. So the performers, the sponsors became very important simply because if their name would go in the list of those that had been sponsors, there was a very beneficial deal between the sponsors' family and the city-state that they came from. And guess which city of Greece had the biggest list of names? Athens, of course, the city-state of Athens. And the deal was, whoever would be in the list of sponsors for those activities, they would not, for a certain number of years and for many generations, they would never pay taxes to the government. So they had very good reasons to want to become sponsors. Guys, can you see